Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible, sophisticated system your body uses to manage blood pressure. It is a silent, constant balancing act happening between your brain, your heart, and your kidneys. And trust me, understanding how it works is absolutely key to your health.
Now, I know that sounds a little dramatic, but it's true. Every single moment of your life, your body is in this constant fight to maintain a really delicate balance. This isn't just something that happens on its own. It's an active, ongoing battle to keep your blood pressure locked into a very specific, very healthy range. And it's essential for your survival. So, let's get right into it and start with the absolute basics. We hear the term blood pressure all the time, right? But what is it really? And why is it so incredibly important that our body works around the clock to keep it stable? Okay, so when you get a reading like 120/80, you're actually looking at two completely different moments in time. That top number, the systolic, that's the peak pressure right when your heart squeezes and pushes blood out. And the bottom number, the diastolic, that's the pressure in your arteries when your heart is actually relaxing, filling up for the next beat. You need both to really get the full picture of what's going on.
The easiest way to think about this is to picture a garden hose. The pressure inside that hose really depends on two things, right? First, how much water is flowing from the tap. That's kind of like your heart's cardiac output. And second, how much you squeeze the nozzle. That's the total peripheral resistance in your arteries. So more flow or a tighter squeeze, you get higher pressure. It's that simple. And your body is constantly tweaking these two things to stay in balance.
So what happens when you, say, jump up too quickly and you get that dizzy, lightheaded feeling? Well, your body has an emergency crew, a rapid response team that just kicks into action in a matter of seconds to handle those sudden changes. And let me introduce you to the key players here. They're called baroreceptors. You can think of them as these tiny, super specialized nerve endings that are basically pressure sensors. They're strategically placed in your major arteries, and their whole job is to constantly monitor how much the walls of those arteries are stretching. So if your pressure drops, the walls stretch less, and these sensors know immediately that something's up. And that detection triggers an immediate feedback loop. It's amazing. The baroreceptors sense a change, they send an alarm straight to the brain, and the brain's autonomic nervous system responds instantly. If pressure's too low, it fires up the sympathetic system, your fight-or-flight response, to speed up the heart. If it's too high, it kicks in the parasympathetic, the rest and digest system, to slow things down. It's a beautiful, lightning-fast correction. But here's the catch. This whole reflex, it's just for immediate emergencies. It's a quick fix, not a long-term solution. As soon as the pressure gets back to normal, the baroreceptors just reset themselves. For that long-term, sustained control, your body needs a totally different strategy. So let's check out how the body plans for the long haul. When it comes to managing blood pressure over days, weeks, or even longer, it calls in its master planners. A much slower but way more powerful hormonal system that's run mainly by the kidneys. Now, this system has a ridiculously long name, but it is the absolute cornerstone of long-term blood pressure control. It's called the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, or, thankfully, RAAS for short. Let's break down who the key players are here. It all begins with a little something called renin. When your kidneys sense that blood flow is getting a bit low, or maybe that your sodium levels have dropped, they release this enzyme. You can think of renin as the starting pistol that kicks off this entire chain reaction. And that chain reaction leads to the creation of an absolute powerhouse of a hormone, angiotensin II. This thing has two major jobs, and they both crank up your blood pressure. First, it's a super potent vasoconstrictor, which is a fancy way of saying it squeezes your blood vessels, increasing that peripheral resistance we talked about. And second, it tells your kidneys to start holding on to more sodium. Angiotensin II also pulls the trigger on another hormone called aldosterone. Now, aldosterone's main job is to tell the kidneys to retain salt. And, wherever salt goes, water is sure to follow. So this increases the total amount of fluid, the volume, in your blood vessels, which, you guessed it, raises your blood pressure. So let's just trace this whole cascade from start to finish. Okay, so first, the kidneys release renin. That leads to the creation of angiotensin II, which then does two big things. It constricts your blood vessels, and it triggers aldosterone. Then aldosterone tells the kidneys, hey, hold on to more salt and water, which increases your blood volume. And the end result of all of this, your blood pressure goes up.
And the ROS system isn't even working alone. The body also uses something called antidiuretic hormone, or ADH. And just like the name suggests, it stops you from getting rid of water. This further increases your blood volume and your pressure. It's just another amazing tool in the body's long-term management kit.
So we've seen just how elegant and intricate this whole system is. It's truly amazing. But what happens when this incredible control system gets overwhelmed or maybe just starts to fail? This is the number that really matters. When your blood pressure is consistently at or above 140/90, that's when it gets the clinical label of hypertension, also known as high blood pressure. And that's the point where this constant pressure really starts to do some long-term damage. And you should know, not all hypertension is the same. It's actually graded by how severe it is. As you can see, the higher the numbers, the bigger the risk. And grade 3, or severe hypertension, is a real medical emergency that needs immediate attention.
So why does this matter so much? Well, because that sustained high pressure is like a battering ram against the delicate walls of blood vessels all over your body. Over time, this can lead to catastrophic events like strokes and heart attacks. It can also cause progressive serious damage to your kidneys and your eyes. And your heart itself suffers too, because it has to work so much harder, which can eventually lead to heart failure.
Okay, that all sounds pretty grim, I know. But here's the good news. Because we understand these systems so well, we have some incredibly effective ways to step in and help. So how do we fight back?
And this is where all that knowledge becomes real power. Remember that whole ROS cascade we just walked through? Well, one of the most common types of blood pressure medication, something called an ACE inhibitor, works by literally blocking the enzyme that creates that powerful angiotensin II. How cool is that? By interrupting that chain reaction, we can effectively and safely lower blood pressure. It's just a perfect example of using our understanding of the body to create targeted, effective treatments. But look, medication is only part of the story. Making changes to your lifestyle is absolutely crucial. For example, cutting back on salt directly messes with that salt and water retention that aldosterone manages. Other things, like quitting smoking, help keep your blood vessels healthy and flexible, which lowers that peripheral resistance. See, it all ties back to the core ideas we've been talking about. So, at the end of the day, your blood pressure isn't just a number on a screen. It's a living, dynamic signal. It's the result of a constant conversation happening between your heart, your brain, and your kidneys. The only real question left is, are you listening to what your body's trying to tell you?